3, 1. We're live.
All right.
Uh,
Sure.
Good night. Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs show number 86 for Friday, 5th of January, 2024. We appreciate your tuning in to hear what we have to offer. And I hope that at the end of this program, what we have offered to you then will have allowed you to be a little bit more informed, knowledgeable, and capable to defend your rights and help your brothers and sisters in the country to defend their rights as well. Information is a very key coin in the realm of governance. And for that matter of fact, we have invited a special guest to be with us tonight. Two of our main panelists are not available yet, and one of them is out dealing with some medical matters, and the other one will not be able to get back in time to be a part of the show. But we did have another guest. We have two guests tonight. We have our main guest, Mr. Karl Tyndall,
Correct.
with us tonight. And then we also expect to have another regular guest who is almost like one of our panelists. Every once in a while, we steal him from the other show that he's actually a panelist on. And he comes over and graces us with his presence as well. So my name is Leonard Brackett. I'm the chairman for tonight's program. You know, on Fridays, we usually have the constitutional, legal case matters and law issues that we deal with on Fridays under my chairmanship. So for right now, what I'll do is we'll follow the format of our regular programming, which means that I will offer a word of prayer, after which I'll go into reading a short scripture verse and then introduce our main panelists for tonight, or main and guests for tonight. So please bear with me. I'll go ahead and offer a word of prayer right now, a short one.
Sure.
Divine loving Father, as we come before thy presence once more, we pray that thou mayest accept our humble expression of gratitude and thankfulness to thee for first of all having given us life and the privilege to be here tonight among our family members, friends, and loved ones. And in this world, despite our travails that we endure, we pray that thou mayest bless us, strengthen us, give us courage and endurance, and help us that whatever we say may accrue to the well-being of our country. We pray for Jesus. We pray these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I'll just read a short text here. There we go. Okay. So I'll read from Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1 says, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. And that's our reading for tonight. By the way, I did not select that previously. I just picked up the Bible, went to Proverbs, and read that particular section. And for whatever reason, it seemed like I had an opportunity to be guided at the right spot for the
right
issues
spot.
that we're about to talk tonight.
Right.
As I said earlier, we have our special guest, Mr. Karl Tyndall. And
Right.
I'd like to introduce him to you now so he can say something to us in his introductory statement, after which he will, I will open up the subject and then he will take over after that. Go ahead, Mr.
All right. Pleasant good night to you, Mr. Leonard Brackett. First of
Welcome.
all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for reaching out to me and to bring me to your platform as a guest. You said a special guest, but as a guest, I am going to try my best to see how much I can contribute to the topic at hand at this point in time. My name is Karl Tyndall. I'd like to say a pleasant good night to the people of Toledo District, the the entire country of Belize, and likewise to Belizeans living abroad. Right? I'd like to say a pleasant good night and welcome to the show. And we look forward to have some meaningful and meaningful contribution to the platform. Thanks
Thank you
once
very
again
much.
for reaching out to me.
Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and for gracing us with your presence. Because you said that we classify, or I classify you as a special guest.
Right.
Indeed, you're special to us. So I hope you don't
Okay.
take it as a negative or as an offense.
No,
But
no,
you're
no,
special to
no.
us because you're one of the people on the ground dealing with the day-to-day issues that we are about to speak of on this particular 86th show of the Belizean affairs. And what you
Sure.
guys are dealing with is definitely Belizean affairs. It does not have to deal with your personal endeavors or undertakings or personal contributions, as you said earlier. It has also to do with national issue because this is not just a PG, or it's not just a. You come. I forgot to mention. You come from the Fireborn section of PG. Is that what they call? No,
Right.
wait, no, not the Fireborn. Yeah, the dump area,
The
I
dump,
think,
the dump
and
area.
right
Correct.
there by the, right there when you're coming on the main highway and you turn, go to PG instead of continue up the new road that they're putting in, what they put in.
Right.
And so therefore,
Right.
you come from the heart of the issue
Of the issue, and that is correct indeed.
with the
Yes, I.
experience, the knowledge, and the forthrightness and commitment to
Right.
stand up and advocate on your own behalf and on behalf of the other people in that community who deserve
Exactly.
some assistance. Just like how the Mayan community deserved some assistance and got more than their fair share of assistance to prosecute the process and get it as far as they have, to the point where now they are conflating the original
Correct.
intent and objectives. But we'll get into that. That's going to be part of the meat when you start, you know,
Definite. Sure.
cut the different fillets and the different sections of the beef. Like Jules said,
Right.
he like stewy beef and he like cookie beef and he like put a lot of
Right.
tomatoes on it.
Right. Exactly.
Anyhow,
Okay.
I just said it to lighten the, you know.
Right.
The bottom line is that the subject for tonight, or at least the first part of the program, the first main subject for tonight would be the Belize slash Maya land issue. Remember now, I always say that I choose my words carefully.
Correct.
And when I speak and I utter specific words because every word that come out of my mouth, unless I laugh and I tease and I clung around as I usually like to do, sometimes just to lighten up the air, sometimes when you deal with serious matters, make you not get one stroke in your head, just you have to smile and laugh and just try distract some other raging hormone will got your vex, right?
Exactly.
What I do is I try to make sure that even then I don't get out of character, which is to say I stick with the truth. When I don't know something, I left it alone. But when I know something and it's causing a harm to someone, I put my body on the line to make sure that I get between that something and the next person that's being harmed.
Okay.
So
Good.
I chose those words just now when I said the Belize slash Maya land issue. I didn't say no tenure, remember?
Correct.
I avoided using that. The Mayas do have a right, like any other Belizeans, to a parcel of land to live on, first and foremost, to build a home. Secondly, as a community that that has depended on farming as
Right.
their way of subsistence, they're definitely entitled to have some lands for them to be able to use for that purpose as well.
Correct.
And I may even go as far as to say they should be able to acquire some land to keep in trust for themselves and future generations. Or even if they want to sell it to somebody else to make one little money on the side, because they're not printing one money. They know the work
Exactly.
but no factory or no place where they can get money from. And just the food where they cultivate alone is not enough to bring them from the subsistence start of lifestyle that they have existed for hundreds of, I would say thousands of years basically, into the modern society where they will be able to take those things that they grow, they crop, and go and exchange to anybody. Because nowadays it's not bartering system like long many years ago. Nowadays you have to have your money in your hand, or at least in your pocket, or in your checkbook, or on your credit card, or somewhere available that the merchant is going to be able to accept.
All right.
So all of that being said, does not mean that because our past governments under PUP and UDP, and even under the British colonial government, did not deal with the Mayan people them adequately, correctly, or fairly, I would say. I'll go that far. That being said as well, does not mean that because they had to go to the court in order to get some vindication and to redress or address some of their concern, that they then should turn around and use the court as a weapon against our government and the rest of the people.
Correct. That is so true, Mr. Brackett. Indeed,
One other real statement I want to add to that. Just I'm about to turn it over. One more statement. That
sure.
doesn't mean that they should conflate the judgment that was handed down, which was a judgment based on a consent decree status. Remember, we are dealing on Friday night, so we are dealing with some legal matters as well. And therefore, I got to talk about some of the legalese and the legal issues of the court case. It's not just one, it's more than one. But the one that we're talking primarily right now is the one that did go to the CCJ, Caribbean Court of
Correct.
Justice, which our government of the day at the time did not contest adequately and present enough, did not do their homework and present enough evidence as a defense against the case that the Mayans were prosecuting. The Mayans were getting help from abroad, both legal and technical help, as well as economic support to pursue their agenda. So the fact remains, though, that the court did enter a judgment, but it was a consent decree judgment. It was not a court final judgment. They sent the participants off to go and resolve the matter with certain directives from the court, specifically recognizing the jurisdiction of the government as a whole under its constitutional obligation and a nation status, that they, the government, retain the power of governance and of deciding how this matter would be resolved. But in good faith, the court accepted the consent decree offered, the consent offered by the government to not contest the matter any further and to find a way to resolve it. So the court ordered the government to work with the Mayans to recognize some rights that they would be able to, within which they would be able to exercise some control over their own lands. And because they don't own the land as of right now, but under customary usage, they should be allowed to plant at one spot, and then next year they plant at another spot, and the following year they plant at another spot. Why? Because in those days they didn't have what we now call commercial uh, um,
Mechanized farming.
no. I'm talking about the chemicals and the thing when they put in the soil, man.
Okay,
Yeah,
fertilizers and stuff.
fertilizers. Yeah. Thank you for
Right.
in those days they didn't
Okay.
have modern fertilizers. So what they do is they go from one plot, they plant that plot, and over a couple of years or so, when the plot becomes depleted in its soil, because they have to dig up the soil, and then the soil get exposed to the sun, the sun and the weather and the rain wash out the nutriments out of the soil, and so they have to move to another spot, virgin land. So
Right.
then go and plant on the next virgin piece, and then so then go around in cycles. I don't know. They have different communities and different group uses different times. All of that being said, that does not mean that they need to try and disenfranchise or dispossess any of the other local Belizeans, because they, as Mayans, are also Belizeans, by the way. They're under the same country's constitution and under the same governance. They're not a country unto themselves. Belize is not a balkanized country, and the Mayans don't have their own constitution. They were ordered to work with the government under the constitution of Belize so that the issue can be resolved. What happened is that the Mayans then presupposed that because the court ruled favorably to their expectations and hopes, that meant that the government was over a barrel and had to meet just about any and all demands of the Mayans. And they proceeded to conflate. The government should have been involved with the process of surveying. First of all, before surveying, they should have been involved in a process to do what you call a demographic analysis of the communities, of the Mayan communities, as well as the other communities in the area. They could have done that easily if they had taken just the voters list that they always use for political reasons or purposes, and they all know who live where, in what community or what villages, and use that as a starting point. Figure out when those villages starting to be occupied, and whether or not those villages deserve to have the same equal, because the new villages should not have the same equal right as the old villages. That's another starting point that needs to be addressed. And we'll get into more of those in detail afterwards, but I need to wrap up this first part in terms of turning over the mic to our special guest. And so, for that matter of fact, the Mayans are now in a position where they feel like they have the wind to their back, and they are going about conflating the whole process and pretending that they have a right to bullyrag the process, and that not to be. The government, as far as I have heard so far, and particularly as regards to Ms. Valderramos, who is the minister responsible for that particular issue, has stipulated that the Mayans need to be reasonable, because apparently, as far as I could perceive my own self, they have not been reasonable after the case. The bottom line is we did not have to go to the point where they end up with a case that they are now interpreting as being ruled in their favor, for them to try and use that to conflate and to try and dispossess everybody else of their lands. because that's not going to work either. And the government ought not to contemplate or allow that to happen. So it's a lot more than I could say in just a short statement. It's a big issue. We have tackled it a few times in the past on this particular program. And tonight, we'll have some more to say about it again. And we'll hear from the words and the mouth of one of the primary witness and person who is affected by what's going on. No other than Mr. Karl
Tyndall.
Tyndall.
Tyndall. Correct.
Tyndall or Tyndall?
Yeah, that is correct. Tyndall. It is.
D-E-L?
Yeah,
D-A-L. Tyndall.
Tyndall.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you very much, sir. Just trying to make sure I pronounce your name correctly rather than chopping it up,
chopping
Please
it
say,
up. That's okay. It's fine with
I
me.
yield to
Many
you. I yield to you
many
now, sir.
refer to me as Tyndale,
Uh-huh.
Kendall, and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. No, so
I know
I'm
the
used to
Kendall
it.
Bridge,
And
no?
it's
I
yeah,
remember the
I,
Kendall Bridge when I go into PG because I go to PG quite often. Every time I go to
sure.
release, as a matter of fact, every year I'm doing an annual survey from 1972 till now. It's an ongoing process.
Okay.
It's an annual survey
Right.
that I do. I take different villages, different towns, different districts, and I go and I survey them. I go into people's house. The same thing I used to do when I was doing political campaigning. I keep doing the same thing, but for a different reason now, which is basically
Sure.
to keep my fingers on my tongue, my feel of what's ailing the country and what's going on in the country. Please, without
Sure.
my
Um,
taking.
thanks again, Mr. Brackett. I think you said a mouthful a while ago in your opening remarks and stuff. No, I think one thing that I captured there is you stressed on the fact that the consent the consent is a decree. It's not a final ruling by the court. And I think that we need to, the general public, the people who is directly affected, and even the ones who are indirectly affected, need to
Mhm.
bring that into
Focus.
perspective, right?
So,
So yes, indeed, it is a decree, and I think what is expected out of that is that the government along with the appellants, which is the MLA, would
mhm,
come back now and work together and see how best they can resolve the issue. However, uh, I think where the problem lies is that there are no communication, right? And people like myself, I consider myself as a third party to the issue, right? I'm a property owner, so
mhm,
I'm concerned about what will happen to my property that I have here in the dump area, right? It is a matter of concern, and likewise, there are several other property owners who are sitting at the wayside and wants to hear more of what is going to take place. And I think one of the greatest issue that we are facing here in the Toledo district is that there are no communication, right? The government, from what I see, they are doing their thing, but they are not engaging the third party. They are not engaging the people who the non-Mayas, or even some of the Mayas who are against the claim. They are not communicating anything to them. So we are here, just lost at this point in time. And so with technology and stuff, because gone are the days where we would go into a library and look for a book to get our information or to educate ourselves. I mean, now we have technology to our disposal. So those of us who have a little bit of technology have access to the internet. The internet is something very powerful, because over the as soon as I became engaged with this issue at hand, I started to do my own little researches, and it was the internet which gave me a lot of information. So people are now trying to see how best they can educate themselves, but there are several people out there. There's the larger population that are going to be affected don't really understand the the actual issue at hand. And I think that I see these platforms are as very important because I mean this is how we can get information out there to people who don't have access to information. While I am not a learned liar, right, I try my best to try and bring myself up to par with the current situation and get myself educated, right? However,
That's
I
applaudable,
think,
sir. That's applaudable.
right. However, I think the government needs to do its part, right? I really and honestly find it very disturbing that it's only the government and the appellants that are at these hearings, right? I don't see any representation of the third party, the property owners on those hearings, and we are going to be affected.
Hmm.
You are looking, I don't want to throw figures out there, but from previous and various different platforms in the past, I think from what they are saying is somewhere around 70 to 80% of the Toledo district that the Mayas are claiming. And I want to make it very clear that I have nothing against the Mayas, right? I am in my late 40s, right? Born and raised in the dump area, right? I
Uh,
went to school along with the Mayas. So
uh,
in no way I have anything, against these people. I respect
uh,
these
Mr.
people.
Mr.
Sure, go ahead.
1 second. As regards to what the Mayans are trying to claim, whether it's 80% or more or less, that's their claim. That's what they're claiming.
Right,
As regards to
and I
what they will,
respect that.
wait. As regards to what they may end up getting, because I'm telling you, whatever they are claiming is not what they are going to end up getting.
Right,
But what they are claiming currently is a conflation of facts that they can't
right,
back up. Other than the
correct.
fact that they could claim, okay, well, the Mayans used to live in that area, you know, long ago, and that is, and that's not
not
the
not
issue.
to cut not to
Go ahead,
cut you
go ahead,
short, but
go ahead.
I do have an issue with that because if you had if you had read the document, right, the hearing from the
Mhm.
20, I think it was the 2015 April 2015 hearing,
Under the
right,
UDP, the- under the
where the judge did mention that we need to question, we don't know outrightly that these people are indigenous to the country of Belize, right? And there are documentations from different um, anthropologists, right, out there on the internet, which is saying otherwise, right? Which is saying that at the time when the Spaniards um, had colonized the territory and the British came in, right? The British did
uh,
a survey,
sir,
a
sir,
documentation.
on that point, before you go any further, please
Correct.
let me stipulate. I heard you mention that last night when in your discussion, and please let me stipulate to you: Spain at no time ever conquered the landmass of Belize.
Right.
They
And
did.
that is correct.
For clarity, no, for clarity and specificity, they did attempted on multiple occasions to try and dislodge the people who were living there in that area in Belize and in St. George's Key proper. Okay,
Correct.
but they did not deal with the landmass of Belize. They did not conquer it. Their only
Right.
claim to the landmass of Belize is because the Pope, under the Tordesillas Treaty, awarded to Spain, because he was a Spanish Pope born in Spain, and he was the Pope, awarded half of the America to Spain and the other half down south to Portugal.
Correct. Right. Yeah. So
Yeah,
at the time when,
I, 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 I,
sure.
I, 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 try establish something for clarity and factual understanding, because when people hear that, oh, the Spaniards conquered Belize, or the Spanish owned Belize, or the Spanish came and conquered the Mayans in Belize, and then after that the British came and conquered. The British didn't came and conquer nobody in Belize. The British was asked by the Belizean people and the Bay people that was living in Belize on that piece of land to help them keep the Spaniards away from taking over the land from them.
Correct.
Spain could
And
not
that
give
is
Guatemala
basically
what
what I'm
Spain didn't
trying to
own.
say, no?
Yeah, Spain could not give
Yeah.
Guatemala what Spain didn't own at the time Guatemala took its independence.
Right.
Spain had already agreed with Britain at the Treaty of Versailles after the War of the Saints, Saint Lucia, the Grenadines, Saint Thomas, and all those places. They were fighting the British, the Spaniards, the French, and the Portuguese. Were fighting over all those places. And after that war
Correct.
was concluded, and they had their meeting in at the Treaty of Versailles in Paris, in France. Those
France.
decisions was made.
Right.
But I'm trying to come back and say that I heard you mention earlier that people are saying, and people, historians or whatever, whoever they claim to be, were saying that Spain came and conquered the Mayans. They must be talking about Guatemala proper, which would have been correct, but not about Belize.
Which should have been
There's no
correct.
reason to
Correct.
accept a conflation of facts where those facts doesn't align.
Correct.
So when they're talking,
Yeah.
if they're talking about Guatemala, they're 100% correct. Spain did conquer Guatemala.
Right.
They never did
Good.
conquer Belize, and they never have no control over Belize. Other than they took some of the Belizean people them on one occasion to Merida and to all the way across the seas to Cuba.
To
And after
Cuba.
that, those Belizeans, some of them ran into the mountains and went to live among the Mayans. Some of them went down south. Some of them went across the bay to Honduras. Some of them were already trading with Nicaragua in blue fields and all those places. Okay, so
Right.
that's a discussion for another time. That's history. But don't let
Right.
anybody put that in your head and let you believe that Spain conquered Belize like it did conquer Guatemala, because that's a conflation of facts.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. So yeah,
Sorry, sir.
you know, when I look,
Thank you for yielding the
when I
time
look
to
at,
talk and explain that. No,
yeah, and thanks for the clarification, Mr. Brackett. Yes, indeed. It was not conquering. You know, the Spaniards did not came and conquer Belize or whatever. No, what my point that I was trying to get across is that whenever the the British took over the country, right, based on the little literature that I stumbled across, no, they when they did their documentation, their survey at the territory of Belize, they did not found any civilization at the time, right? And I'm talking, I think this was way back, I think in the early 1800s, thereabout, no? From what I'm seeing. But there were no population, at least around the, 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 the coastline and stuff when it comes to the Maya people, right? So from what I when I read the ruling, there were some concerns from the judges as it relates to that, because you know, and each one of these words and stuff have their terms and definition.
yes,
So
sir.
you know, they were questioning whether they are indigenous indeed to the country of Belize, right, or and specifically Toledo district, right, and they couldn't come to a conclusion as it relates to that, right? So there's a lot of concerns. However, you know, like I said on the other platform a few days ago, that the government is doing nothing to educate and to inform other affected parties to this live issue. And um, recently I got engaged and I'm trying my best, right? I don't know it all, but I'm trying, you know, I'm here, I'm seeing what is taking place, and I'm trying my best to share the little knowledge that I you know have access to, right?
Leonard.
And so to bring others who are concerned up to par, right? I look over at I look at the ruling, and where it's saying that it's saying several stuff. However, what caught my eyes was the part that says that where there are private properties, right, it should not be affected, and that is a very strong statement, right? I mean, if there are several private properties, then that area would have to remain the same, right? You can't have patches here, there, and everywhere, right? If you're going to have communal land, you're going to have communal land over here, and then you're going to have private properties over here. But now, when you look at Toledo district on a whole, majority of these villages that falls under the claim, right? Quite a number of these villages already have substantial amount of property holders in these areas. So
Mhm.
then it brings the question, how is it, how is it that, um, they will try, or the government will take our land, right? And give it because of this mile and tenure claim, right? I think from what I'm seeing, we are protected, and we are protected
The
under the
Constitution.
Constitution,
Constitution protect
right?
you,
We are protected under the Constitution. The
and the government has
Constitution,
to abide to that Constitution.
yeah, the Constitution well, from what I know, is the supreme law of the land, right?
Correct.
And for make this claim to become legitimate and whatever, they would have
And
to
to fit,
try
it has
and
to fit
tweak the
within.
Constitution to accommodate this claim, right?
They're not going to
Uh,
tweak the Constitution. The Constitution, remember what you just said?
right.
Supreme law of the land.
Supreme law of the
Constitution, I
land.
believe, chapter 4, part 1, section 2,
Correct.
section 1. The law, the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. You just said it, I cited it, and
Right.
that's what it is. No law other than that supreme law of the land is going to trump that Constitution. Anything else
Right.
beyond that is null and void.
Yeah, but from my little knowledge that I have, I think that they can bring amendments and stuff like that to the Constitution, right? Is
The
that
government
correct?
can make the government can make amendments to the Constitution, but there are certain parts of the Constitution that the government have no authority or control over. That's a,
Okay.
that's a,
You
you,
see,
you see this
and
tonight
and
program
and these
on this Friday
and
night,
these are the things that
all these Friday night
these
program
are
that
the
we've been
things that
doing
we, the
have
third
been dealing
party,
with those
need to know,
matters.
right? And these
The
are the
government,
things we, the third party, need to know, right? I mean, majority of the population here in Toledo, I don't like to say the word illiterate, but the fact is, majority of them, you know, was not fortunate enough to go to school. So their level of understanding is different from mine, right? And they are unable to interpret these
can I
these.
interject another point?
Sure.
Even the people in Belize City and other parts of the country,
Correct.
98% of them doesn't know anything about our Constitution. So don't
Correct.
take it as an offense, or don't take it that when you say the people don't know. If they don't know, they don't know. And the reason why they don't know is
Yeah.
because they have not been encouraged to learn and know and understand these things.
Yeah. We are
The
not being
lawyers make
educated in that light.
the lawyers make their money off of the people's ignorance. So they have to
Right.
come to the lawyers to deal with those substantive matters.
Right.
But
Right.
the bottom line, sorry for cut you across, but the bottom line is that the Constitution is there to protect all of our rights.
For all.
It is the
Right. For all.
responsibility,
Correct.
which is why we elect a government. It is the responsibility of the government to
Right.
abide fidelity to our Constitution, to make sure that nobody takes advantage of the other, one or the other.
Right.
But
And that brings
The
me.
Mayans are trying to use this thing and conflate it.
Correct.
to try
Right.
and
It brings
foreplay and overreach. And that's where we are heading up with the problem.
right. It brings me to another point. I mean, when we talk about this live issue, right? Under the Constitution, I believe it's Chapter 184 of the laws of Belize, the Land Acquisition Act, right,
Mhm.
clearly outlines how the state can recover any properties solely for public purposes. Now, I'm a bit concerned because what happened is that the noise in the market is saying that, oh, based on this ruling, they will end up taking our properties and give it to the Maya because it's a ruling from the high courts, right?
Yeah, but that's a
However,
that's another
I, I,
conflation.
don't- I I don't see how that can happen. Why?
That's a
Because
conflation.
we are protected under the Constitution. And if we read the Constitution and
Exactly.
understand the Constitution, we have some very strong sections in there that is to our protection,
Mhm.
right? In terms of the live issue. I mean, stating that the state can only recover properties for public purposes, which Belizeans on a whole will benefit from, right? Taking away these properties for this claim, it is not going to benefit, it's just going to benefit one group of people, right? It's not going to benefit the general public, and that
Yeah,
is where, you know, I am a bit
can I address
comforted.
that particular point? Could I address that particular point that you just brought up
Sure, go ahead.
about taking the lands from whoever have it right now, if you give it to the Mayans? That is not what the solution to this problem should come down to. Under the purview and the control and powers of governance, Belize constitution, country, and governance. That is not what it's supposed to come down to, where they're going to take away the property of one person who has title or lease or whatever on that land and give it to somebody else, whether it
Right,
be the Mayan or whoever. There's what you
right,
call Crown properties. On Crown properties, the government have the power to do as they wish with those
correct,
properties. On
right.
private properties, the government has no authority to do as they wish, except under certain conditions, just as you mentioned
Under
earlier.
certain
So,
conditions.
and those conditions, they can
Has
say what those conditions are and make it become the law of the land. They got to go to the court if they're going to say that they're taking the land for a certain purpose. They got to go to the court because only the court can decide whether or not a public domain right is being vested in the government. The government can't declare that just unto itself and say, well, we decide that this is what we want to do, and they go ahead and they have to go to the court, which is the way the system is structured, but they don't always follow the system, as I pointed out to you earlier.
right,
Both government under, not both, all three government under the UDP, the PUP, and the colonial government, they have run and strung the system or the process and done illegal acts. But the
right,
government cannot take private land and do what they want with it just willy nilly. That's not so it works. I know we can't say that so, or they want to do it so, because the court is there under Section 20 of the Constitution to do what you call a judicial review and to
a
validate whether or not
judicial,
what the government is saying is correct. If the court says
correct,
it's not a valid taking of the land, the government cannot take that land. They
right.
have to prove.
And and
Go ahead.
and and, and that and that is what I am, that is what I'm getting to, right? I'm trying to stress that, you know, our people is not aware of these, these rights that we have, right? And obviously, we need to do something about it. We need to educate, and we cannot sit here and wait for the government to come out here and educate us, because this has been going on from way back, from as early as 2010, 2011, right? And no one has reached out to me as yet, to try and educate us and try to bring us up to par at the current situation. It's just basically what I'm seeing, on the internet and what I'm hearing, right? And most of the time you just can't go by what you're hearing. You have to go and get the factual, the
Mm.
black and white, and then you can go by what is there in black and white. But people, like I said, people are not readily have access to these type of information, and so they are just listening to the noise in the market, right? And I think that now they are getting more and more concerned because the cases hearing are being taking place every so often, and there's a lot of talking about the current situation or the current issue. So people are getting more and more concerned, and I think that we need to come together and have a voice because we are going to be affected. What is actually taking place with us right now is something similar to what is taking place in the Gaza Strip,
Mm.
right? Something similar to what is taking place over there, right? Where they are pushing these people out, and you imagine, the claim that they are having where they are trying to claim X amount of um, percentage of the property, the land in Toledo district. What is left for us as non-Mayas, as different ethnic groups? What is left for us for our future generation, right? I mean, as is right now, we barely can get a piece of land. How many of our youths don't have
Let-
a piece of land at this point in time?
Uh, Mr. Tyndall, let me tickle you
Sure,
for a little bit. I want to tickle your fancy, like what I said.
go ahead, go
Do you
ahead.
know that the concept that the Mayans they have right now, the ones that who are the ones who are pushing this agenda, they're stipulating that the government, okay, let me back off a little bit. They're stipulating that if some of the lands that they're claiming that they want for their communal use, you notice how I avoid some of the terms that I always use, right? Communal
Right,
land rights. You
right,
notice how it's agenda because anytime they talk about communal land rights, it's an issue that is valid on two sides of the coin. That coin don't
correct.
have one face. Anytime they bring up and say that one thing about communal land rights, they're talking about you and all the other people. And uh, give me a second, sir. Could you go ahead and just speak for a minute? Just somebody's at my door, and
Yeah,
I don't have nobody else in the house right now. Go ahead and speak.
sure, no problem. Sure, no problem. Yes, you're right. Like, so what I'm saying is that, it's good that this platform has give us the opportunity to try and voice our concern that we have, because we are the people that are here, on a day-to-day basis, and is seeing what is happening or what is going to happen to us, right? And so we want to bring others on board who is against this claim, right? And come together, because the only way we can get somewhere with this issue if we unite ourselves and come together and stand together and fight towards a common cause. And when I say fight, I mean stand up and voice let us have a voice, right? Voice our concern and ensure that yes, we have representation similar to the Mayas, and to be there at these hearing, because at this point in time, I we don't have any voice, right? And we are hoping that the government are going to make what mature decisions, and keep third party, you know um, and so that to get the third party more comfortable in this issue. But from what I'm seeing, no one is saying anything. No one is saying anything. The government is not coming to us and say, well, you know what, and try to educate. No one is saying anything. So we, as a people, right, along probably with the help of you guys out there, right, because we need guidance. I mean, I I am very what? I like that the Mayas have such a good um, person guiding them. I mean, who is very, and I must say, I mean, Christina is very um, articulate, right? Very fluent and stuff, and knows what she is doing, right? And representing the Mayas, then we need to get people who can guide us, because we are not like the people up there in North. I mean, if you look a couple days ago on the news, the people out there in the northern part of the country, I mean, those people are very aggressive, right? Those people, they are standing up. They are making their voices heard, right? I mean, this is the first time that something like this is coming to Toledo district, where where more than where a large portion of the population is going to be affected, right?
Mhm.
Is going to be affected, and so I mean, we are in a learning process, and I applaud the group, the Emery Grove group, and which other groups that are coming up now. I applaud them. I mean, as a matter of fact, I joined that little group with the ushers, right? Because they were the one who brought me in and said, you know what, Mr. Tyndall, we need to stand up, right? Because this is going to affect us. And that was when I decided, let me read, let me try and do my research and get myself educated as it relates to this matter,
That's
right?
very commendable of you,
So,
sir. Very, very commendable of you to have gotten that far, despite going up the
right,
hill against the odds.
right. Go ahead.
Uh, thank you. Um, what I would like to, okay,
Go ahead.
the matter can be solved or should be able to be solved, not without a little difficulty, of course, because when it comes to material things and human beings, we can go all the way back in at the beginning of the Bible where Cain killed his one brother over farm products,
Right.
material things, right?
Material stuff.
And we're here today at this point in time having this discussion over almost the same thing: farming and farm product and the ability to do farming and over material issues.
Right.
So I'm not taking it lightly when I made that statement just now about we human beings, you know, have a problem when we deal with material issues. The problem is that it's an old, it's an age-old set of circumstances that we keep dealing with repeatedly.
Repeatedly.
And
Right.
the problem is that unless some people are willing to be, how should I put it? Be fair. One word, fair. Unless people
Right.
are willing to be fair. And I don't mean the fear of being afraid of somebody. I mean the fear of being honest, upright, steadfast, and willing to share and live and let live, rather than just be greedy, want slap something out of somebody else's hand where somebody else have, or want dispossess somebody of what they have, or be mean and puny enough to the point of not care about nobody else other than themselves. This
Right.
matter can be solved
Right.
because the Mayans are asking for presumably more lands than they currently have and that they are currently using. They want to lock
Right.
down as much lands as they are allowed to lock down for future generations in eternity. And that could mean the whole of Central America, if I must exaggerate. Because for the rest
Right.
of eternity, the population will keep growing and expanding. And so, what part then going then? Expand out into the
Right.
rest of Central America, expand
Exactly.
over the whole of Belize.
Yeah.
But that's not the
Belize.
approach. The approach should be that just like how they would I like to have more lands than what they currently have, because right now they have lands. They have the ones then what they use, but they want to
Right.
get more lands to set aside for future use. And they don't mind or they don't care if they have to dispossess somebody else right now where they pan it and they control it. So long as they could come into possession of it. And that's what the agenda is all about. is to dispossess,
Well,
because they said, when I tell you earlier
I
and just tickle your fancy, some of them they
right.
say government could buy their lands from like people like you and others. We have on a private land. Government could take it over under eminent domain and pay on for it so that they could have it. They are part
Well,
of the Belizean people as well. So, and they are part
I
of the government as well.
I personally don't see how the government can reclaim these
No, no,
properties
I
because
just point it out to you because that's what
it's
they're
a
saying.
substantial amount. It's a
Yes, but
substantial
it won't
amount that
happen.
will cost the
It,
country a
it will
lot
never
of
happen.
money,
But it
and
will
we
never
don't
happen.
have that money, right?
But it will never happen.
You're looking about
They're trying to be
billions
funny.
and billions,
Yeah,
right?
but they're
You're
they're
looking
trying to be funny when they make that proposal that government
right,
should go and buy the land for owner and make it available to them so that they could have it for their customary use.
right.
They can have.
I
Sorry,
think
go ahead.
that
Sorry.
the court is not fully informed, right,
Exactly.
of the situation. And when I listened to the last hearing, right, when one, I think it was the lead judge, right, asked the question or passed a statement and said, we are looking at what, a hundred properties that we will need to address. The government attorney said no, we are looking at a little over 8,000 properties.
Hmm.
Then the response or the impression gave by that judge, like, he was surprised, right? They
Because
thought that it was a
because
little bit just a handful of properties that they will need to look at.
yeah,
No,
because
you're
The Mayans were saying that
most of these
40 41 village, and they have the land already for their village, and then want more land to expand the village, but the more land when they want, the more than 10 times the present amount what they have. That's craziness.
right,
That amongst the
right.
balkanization, that amongst the well and the claim about 70 88% of the whole Toledo district and part of Stan Creek as well. Never
Yeah,
will happen.
I recall on the last platform that I was on a few days ago, there
Mhm.
was a individual who made a comment on the live saying that what about Spanish lookout, right? Spanish lookout is like a country within our country, right? Spanish lookout is totally different. When Spanish lookout came to Belize, they purchased that property, right? They purchased that, and Spanish lookout provide their own electricity. They
Mhm.
even have their own water system. They fix their own roads, right? They are taking care of
That's
themselves,
what people do with their
right?
own private property.
That is what people do with what is theirs, right? So I don't see, you're asking or you're claiming the right of these areas, and then yet you want to come back to the government to say, you know what, we need a community center, we need a road, we need
Oh,
our road
yes,
paved,
yes. You
right?
talk about the road right now. Just a minute. Separate it. You know
Right.
why I made the laugh just now? When you bring
Go
up,
ahead.
because the government is getting sued and got sued and is expected to pay $6 million, as you will remember, for the road when I built
Right.
to service these people in the community.
Right.
What kind of asinine judgment was that supposed to have been? Tell me the judge that passed that ruling that would have known enough to have passed that ruling and believe that that ruling was correct. The judge didn't have
Well,
either the information or the inclination to deal with the facts as they really were, rather than the way they stipulated it, because that should
and I,
never have
and I,
happened.
and I And I believe that is where the government fails us because they don't actually stand up and have the proper representation, right? And inform the court, inform the high court that
Exactly.
this road was in existence from way back,
Long before.
right? Was in existence. Like I said on the other platform, it was the late Mr. Jimmy Lindo, the brother of Mr. Bill Lindo, and Dean Lindo, that
Mhm.
worked on that road and first pushed that road, right? That entire road, right?
Mhm.
So the road was in existence from way back. The government did not recently build that road. What the government actually did was
Resurface it.
resurface the road and
Right.
make it more accessible to the
so that they can have it,
general public,
everybody could use
right?
it.
So that people can have it to their disposal and try to help with the economy in that area, right? So
And who benefited?
I
Who are
think
the people
we
that would
need to
benefit
be
out of that? Now we pay the rest of the society or the rest of the country through the government, pay to get the road bill for their convenience, and then we have to turn around now and pay them because the road it wasn't built against their choice or wishes, you know.
right.
Now were they now did they had any authority over that road when that road was originally cut and put in? But now they want to come
No,
and have a judge ignorant of the facts stipulate in a judgment that the government have to pay $6 million plus because the government violated these people's customary land rights. Then I mean they grow no plan for that piece of road. All in years that road was cut in there and the road was existing and people were using it. None of them I mean, they grow nothing for that piece of road. So what kind of customary land rights are they talking about? Which is what I'm trying to explain and point out to you. When these people come to you right now on the ground right there and they're telling you such and such bull story, you guys, like you do, need to do some homework, do some research, and need to find out and understand these facts. If that judge may know that that road was there and no corn or nothing wasn't being planted on that road for all these years, how the hell that judge want to say, well, with the violate then customary land use?
right.
I mean, the ludicrousness of it, you know?
Right. And not only that, I mean, just to shed some light on it now, I think if you read the case file, um, what happened is that they had the government had indeed taken, a piece of land, because I don't know if those were properties or anything, but to set what we have as the checkpoint, right, where they set up the Baja station
Uh,
and probably a little camp for the immigration officers and the custom officers and police officers and sort, no? But
that,
it's
that,
just a,
that was in Halakta, right?
what is it?
That, that was in Halakta, right?
Yeah, that is just on the what? Yeah, in the Halakte area,
Right.
right? It's
Uh,
in the Halakte village, right? And so but there's no way
because
that
of the
if
cow
they are
pasture
referring,
and so on that they have over there.
yeah, there's
They
no way that
want
if
to
they're
go
referring to
and
that
for them
two
to pasture
acres,
on Wheeland.
yeah, there's no way that if they are referring to that 2 acres or 5 acres per se, that
No,
that
no, no, no.
costs that costs
That's not it,
over
though.
six
That wasn't it.
million,
No, no, that
right?
wasn't it. That
So
wasn't it.
right? So there's a lot of issue at hand at this point in time, and
Did they
I
complain?
think that
A question. One question. Did they
well,
complain about the road where Minister the man from Toledo Westman?
Toledo West,
Yeah, Mr. Minister. Um, uh, I got
yeah,
the
the
man.
Toledo West area representative,
I try to remember his name. I got it that's my friend, right? But when he push
right?
one road in the back there the other day, about a year or two ago, and cut out the forest, right, and did the road, build the road, new run road. And I hear the Mayans and complain or try to charge us for that.
Okay, I
That
think what
yes,
you're
I mean,
referring,
everything would I mean have one reasons to say, well, we destroyed and farmland,
yeah, I
but
think
there
what
was
you're
no road
referring
on
to
the
is the
to that.
Machakilha. I think
Right,
you're
right,
referring to
right,
Machakilha Road, because there are
right.
several roads that recently
Nobody
opened.
complained
No,
about that. They were happy to
yeah,
have it
they are happy to have it. Yeah, right, indeed.
at our expense, at the government expense. But
Right.
then be the same one to turn around and want sue the government. And the case should not have been, they should not have won that case.
Yeah.
But they won the case because of negligent representation on the part of the government to
Right.
defend that case properly and go.
And
They're
that is
working on the
and
court
that
with their hand in
is
their
and
pocket.
that is exactly
They
and
develop the
that is
evidence.
exactly what is happening to us now, right? Where negligence again, right? Where we are not having what fair representation,
Mhm.
right? And the people of Toledo now is getting aware and is now standing up, because who wants to lose their piece of land, right? who wants to lose their piece of land? No one wants to lose their piece of property. Everybody is up in arm, right? And even majority, even some of the larger Mayan communities, they are up in arms against this claim, right? They're
because they
they're
because they want get them piece of land so that they could mortgage it if they have to, get some money for sending
exactly
kids to the school or for whatever purpose. When in the community land right stuff, the only the big wigs and one have control and use of the assets there, how they want, when they want, and who they decide to allow to use it the way they want. You know,
right.
something like right now, there's a lot of Mayan currently that own just regular private lands
Oh
under the
yes,
world
there there
under the present system.
there there
What are they
are
going to do with that
indeed
land?
a
Are they
lot of
going to give up those lands?
there are indeed a lot of people, a lot of Mayas who own their piece of land in the more established villages, no, the older established villages, right? San Antonio, San Pedro, Colombia, San Miguel, Silver Creek, Pueblo Viejo. You have quite a number who
No,
owns
no,
their
no.
own
But
piece.
wait. Another point I'm trying to get at there just now when I brought it up.
Okay,
The government sell lands to different people,
right,
me and you, or foreign investors, or the Mayans who
right,
buy land. Because there are a lot of Mayans who have bought their lands, like you said, who own their land under the present governance process of land acquisition and ownership,
right.
which is different from this conflated thing about Mayan land rights and the extension of the other properties that they are trying to acquire now under this present lawsuit. No,
Right.
I'm saying if they want to have lands to themselves, currently they own private lots. And are they then,
Correct.
as Belizeans, going to extend and have the same rights honored to them as the rest of Belizeans who go and get additional private lands? It's a land grab. And I'll bring it back right to Christina's backyard, where she was clearing out somebody else's adjacent property and putting down pegs and claiming that that adjacent property that the other person had was hers and her father's and her family's.
You
And she
know,
can afford, she can be allowed to clear that and they can allow to make use of that. But right now, you guys, as I heard you said on the other program the other night, can't even get the surveyor department or the lands department for making to go ahead and process on the documents normally. But they can,
yeah.
everything is on hold for you guys, but not for them. They can continue plant and cut and do whatever they have to do and subsist and to hell with you
It has
guys.
it has been quite a while since I'm unable to pay my taxes to my property. I mean,
Then
I
later
think
on,
it was
wait, on that point. Then later on, they'll
right,
turn around and say, well, they could take away your land because you haven't paid your property, your stuff. It's a trick. It's a catch-22, right?
right,
They refuse
right,
to accept the money because I lost one piece of land like that at Corozal many years ago. The PUP government came into power, told me they didn't want to accept my payments because they were doing a whole land registry review. And they
right.
never did, as of today, dear, we have this conversation, and never did accept my money. But then turn around and take my land and give it to somebody else because my land wasn't being paid for.
Right.
I can't
You
do
know,
nothing with the
Mr.
land.
Bucket.
They're crazy.
You know,
They abuse the
you
powers.
know, yes. Mr. Bucket. I find this claim to be very interesting, right? And when I say very interesting is because when you think about it, and when living here, right? I understand the dynamics in this district at this point in time, right? And when I look at it, they are fighting for customary land rights,
Mhm.
right? And whatever comes with customary land rights,
They're
right?
defining that
But
too, They're defining
yeah,
that, right? And not the
yeah,
government to
but
define that, or you or me or anybody else. They want to define that for
but
themselves.
but how many are still in the practice? How many are still in the practice uh, doing their subsistence farming? The younger generation is not into subsistence farming. I can tell you, majority of them had migrated out of the Toledo district in search of jobs, whether it might be in Placencia, whether it might be in San Pedro, or other parts of the country, right? Majority of them had left in search of job. They are not into planting corn anymore, beans and rice, right? It's only the elders that are doing that. So eventually, when the elders passed away, you would have a lot of empty properties. I mean, a lot of empty customary um, or traditional lands there,
Just
right?
just locked away.
They
Just
will
locked
not
away.
be occupied because eventually the younger generation they want to go into modernization, right? They want to go out there and want to be able to have a job and collect a salary, right? Many
It
of
is, it
them
is,
have
it is
left the
just
district.
the whole of this process is just a land grab. Like I was trying to tell you earlier when I said I bring it right down to Christina's backyard. It's all about a land grab to grab the assets and to get control and keep control of the assets. Okay?
Well,
Then dispossess the government
I
of whatever lands they can, then dispossess me and you of whatever lands they can. And then do whatever they can if they are allowed to. The bottom line is that they need to be reasonable or they not get what they hope to get or what they could get. Because people want to stand up for their rights and the government will have to come to the decision making point where they cannot allow for political reasons because they want to keep them 2 seats there under for their control. They cut deals with the Mayans them while allowing the Mayans them to violate the constitution of weak country. It won't work.
right, right. I have a different view on their agenda,
Mhm.
right? I am still questioning what is their possible agenda, right? In terms of this claim. Because when you look at it, the Toledo district is a very rich district in terms
Mhm.
of minerals, in
Mhm.
terms of the various
Lot
minerals
of
and
different
stuff.
things. Lot of different
A
things.
lot of
It's a
different
real,
resources and
it is
stuff.
the richest district in the country.
Right. And I
The
think I,
richest,
I think
and I
um
think it's the biggest too.
I think Mr. Joe Coy on the last platform did alluded to that
Mm.
the Toledo district is very, very resourceful. There's a lot of things. I mean, back in the days we were known for the cane industry, right? Then we eventually were known for the rice industry.
Mhm.
Both industries which had died over the years, right? We
I,
are we are
I remember
now just
when
trying to get back into the rice
I
industry at this
remember
point in time.
when the rice and the beans used to be brought to the marketing board
Uh,
on Martfront Street, truckloads and boatloads,
Truckloads,
Eroniage
right,
and Maya Prince and all them boats used to bring stuff
right,
before the road may get
right,
cut through.
right. So we are very resourceful. So I don't know what is their agenda if it is indeed that they want the customary land right so that they can continue to practice their traditional way of doing farming, which I respect,
Some of
right?
them want and
Or
some don't.
they do have different agendas.
Some of them want.
I am not
Some
I'm
of
not
them,
hearing you,
some of them
sir.
don't want. I don't know what's going on.
Right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm hearing like a beeping, but I don't see nothing around that I could
Yeah, I
like a
believe
phone
I
that's
believe
going
it
out.
was me. I had a phone
Maybe the
call
phone is
coming in
running
and
out
that
of
probably
battery.
blocked it.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
that
I was
probably
saying that.
blocked the stream.
Yeah, I was just trying to contribute an idea that the reality is that the Mayan land rights was being advocated by some of the people, and others of them among them don't want to deal with it. They don't want that as their outcome. But the ones that are trying to push it are getting international help,
Right.
and so they are more powerful than even the very government of our country.
Yeah.
And having gotten
Right.
that ruling from the CCJ empowers their hands to try and play hardball.
Right.
But
They
because they're
while
conflating and they will end up with problems bigger than they could handle.
right. While I understand that they might be funded by international organization and stuff, and that what makes them strong. We the people here in Toledo district can be strong as well once we start to get up and stand up for our rights, right? It is time now for us to come together and unite and start to 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 fight towards a common cause, right? And start to get our voice heard, right?
The Mayans land rights claim was only piggybacking on other foreign agendas. They are getting used, and I don't think some of them recognize that.
Well,
They can only
I
see as far
believe
as the
that
president knows. They can't see beyond, and they are being used
I
for other hidden agendas. And Belizean people are not aware of these things. Some of them could care less because it don't affect them, or they don't think it affects them.
yeah, and it boils back to what I had said on the other platform, no? And I'm glad that you brought it up, right? Um, they 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 are looking at precedent sets in different parts of the world as it relates to similar claim,
Mhm.
right? However, what what might be appropriate or what might be doable in those parts of the world is not likely to be doable here in this country, right? Belize has and I keep mentioning this. Belize have a very small landmass. We are only 8,867 square miles, right?
Mhm.
We have a very small landmass. So not because this might have worked in other parts of the world, right, means that it will work here, right? It definitely, I mean, here has different dynamics. I mean, a lot of these places, a lot of these properties under the claim, or a lot of these areas under the claim are already properties, right? And the constitution protect those property owners, right?
Exactly.
So how is it that this would be? I mean, this is not something easy. This is a tall order, right? And it might take a very long while before it can be settled, right? Because of the intricacies that entails, right? This is definitely not something easy that can easily be ironed out and solved, and everybody happy after that. No, this a lot of people are going to be affected. The government, I'm telling you, there are a lot of huge property owners that are just waiting to bring some lawsuit to the government. How will they be able to handle? I don't know. Because there are a lot of huge property owners who owns 2,000, 3,000 acres, right?
Mhm.
And they are concerned. No one is going to just sit back and relax and allow the state to reclaim their properties. No one, right? So it is going to be a very interesting way forward. That I can say, right? And I'm
Well,
hoping that the government is prepared for this
which,
backlash that is going to come, because it will come, right?
which is why I
Come
was
it
saying
will.
earlier that the Constitution protects those landowners, and it protects you guys as well. And you guys need to do exactly what you're doing, getting up and speaking up for yourself, articulate your position, let the rest of the country know what kind of schemes and scams and they try to run for UNO, and make the rest of the country demand that the government abide by the Constitution, which is to protect your rights.
Right. And again, Mr. Brackett, this is not only going to affect people from the Toledo district,
Mhm.
right? I want to make it clear. This is not only going to affect people from the Toledo district. This is going to affect the entire country.
Mhm.
So similar to how we can join force when other parts of the country is in dispute or whatever, right? Or where they are demonstrating and stuff to that extent. Why can't other parts of the country and people in the diaspora join forces with us, right? Because a large portion of the population in the Toledo district is going to be affected, right? A lot of people are going to be affected. There's a lot of um, private property owners. I mean, Mr. Marshallek, the attorney Marshallek, did allude to the fact that you're looking from 8,000 and more property owners. How many acres that boils down to? it's yet to be, determined how many acres that 8,000 property owners boil down to. But it's quite a sizable area, right?
And I don't doubt that some of these Mayan villages have grown right up to the boundaries of other people's property line. I recall in the past where sometimes the Mayans used to say that the government is giving title to people for land that is right up to their village
Right.
lines. Now
Well,
with this, now with this, go ahead,
some
go
of
ahead.
these
I'm sorry.
communities, some of these communities has grown over the years, all
Mhm.
right, and that is understood, right? And where the government, where the state can give them more land. I mean, let us be fair, because the younger generation needs somewhere to live, and they also need somewhere to till the soil and produce, because that is what we want in this country. We want to be producing what we eat, so that we can avoid the importation, uh, uh, most of what we eat. Right, currently we are importing a lot of our goods.
Even
Right, we
sugar.
need to, right, we need to start, go back to the old days, and start to produce, because we can do it. Right? The Mennonites came here and they are doing it. Why can't we do it? Right? With the help of the state, with the help of the financial institution, I am sure that we can be as productive as other ethnic groups in the society at this point in time.
Well,
Go ahead.
I just want to say that I'm grateful that you did came to grace our show tonight. My other colleagues are not on, and
Right,
the other guests that was supposed to come on didn't show up as well. Too. I don't see nobody else in the background right now
right,
on the system. But I'm glad that we had the opportunity to flesh out some of these issues and speak on them. And I'm hoping that some of our Belizean people at home and abroad will be a little bit more enlightened and more exposed
right.
to really what's
Well,
going on,
I
that they're not necessarily being, because they're not getting the down to the ground visuals of what's going on. They're only getting these news reports and these you know ready-made or cut and paste type reports.
right,
And to
right.
get somebody like yourself that's on the ground experiencing what's going on, it gives a different face than just to hear what other people are saying about what you guys are experiencing, getting it
Well,
firsthand.
a lot of people are just listening to the noise in the market, and that's the truth about it. Right? A lot of people are not getting engaged. However, I think of recent, people are now becoming concerned, and through these medium, I think they now want to get engaged, and they now want to get more educated as it relates to the live issue, right? So
Well,
I think over the near future, I think what is good for us to do is to start to go out and educate the people and let them understand what this is all about, right? Obviously, one little group cannot do it, because the area is large, and like I said, there are few communities who are under the claim, that who doesn't want to be on the claim, right? And now that we are making a stand, now they want to join forces with us. So sooner than later, you would see that there are a lot of people coming on board, right? I'm a bit surprised now that your platform had reached out to me today to try and come on this platform to share some light,
uh,
basically, because of the
could
previous
I
platform that I was on, right?
could I
So
could
people
I
are now understanding what the Toledo people are going through, and reaching out, like yourself, reaching out to us to help us have a voice out there.
can I get a second from you?
Sure,
I'll give you the floor, but I just wanted to say something quickly.
sure.
This particular program, Belizean Affairs, is available to you on any of the nights that we broadcast for you to come and express whatever thoughts you have in regards to these matters and any other matter that relates to the affairs of Belize. So let me say this to you right now. My other colleagues are not here right now. So
Right,
as the chairman, I'm just using my
yeah,
chairmanship position now to make the
right,
stipulation. But normally, and I'm the owner of the program of the broadcast.
sure.
So I can say on safe grounds that I am stipulating something that can be carried through. But out of basic civility and comradeship with my other colleagues, we like to consult or talk or discuss things. And I'm saying something to you now that I haven't discussed with them, which is why I'm prefacing it like that, right? But
Right,
as far as I'm concerned, this program is here for you and any other Belizean, Miss Cook, Miss Christina, whoever, the cane farmers, then whoever, anybody that wants to
right,
have a few minutes of time to express themselves and to voice their opinions, their thoughts, their ideas, which according to our constitution, you're entitled to have freedom of thought,
freedom,
you're
freedom of
entitled to
expression.
have freedom of expression, and you're entitled to have freedom of communicating those thoughts and expressions to anyone else, whether it be to an individual or a group or to the government itself, without any infringement on that inalienable God-given right and
Right,
constitutionally protected right. So I just want
right,
you, before we leave off the program, to be aware of that you're invited to come on anytime you want. Just give us a buzz and we'll send you a link Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Any
correct.
day, anytime. Well, I shouldn't say
Right,
anytime. When I say
right.
anytime, I mean within the constraints of the 90 minutes programs that we host, right?
That you normally
You're
host.
welcome to,
Right,
you know, to add
right.
whatever you want to add or to
Right.
any new information or anything that you have that you want to contribute or put out there. That's what we are here for. Thank you
I
very much
really
for.
appreciate. I really appreciate the offer, right? And at this point in time, I am basically only standing up as an individual, right? I'm not representing anybody at this point in time, any community. I'm not in local government, right?
Any of your other
However,
colleagues,
I
yeah, any of your other colleagues or individuals within your group that's fighting this fight that will just want to be heard, or want their ideas to be recorded.
right. Well, a lot
You're
of
welcome.
people want to be heard. A lot of groups want to be heard. But what happens is that a lot of them are not comfortable. Why? Because they are not knowledgeable at the issue at hand, right? And so a lot of us are sort of reluctant in coming to these platforms to try and have a voice, right? I must say that over the last few days, I am breaking that barrier, right? I mean, I have never been on a platform um, before until Wednesday when the Sea Smokes did reach out to us and ask me specifically if I can come on their platform to shed some light of what is actually taking place. So people are now getting out of those comfortable
The more,
zone
the more,
and trying,
the merrier. The more, the
right, and
merrier.
trying to advocate for a common cause.
We are here to support you in your advocacy and to give you the space or the platform. So I
Right,
just want to say again, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for gracing us with your presence and contributing your thoughts and ideas to the public at large and your sentiments and giving us your experience, your hopes and aspirations. And I hope that somewhere or another your advocacy will bear some fruit. We have come to the end of our program within the next 20 something seconds. And therefore, I just want to say thank you very much again. And you're always welcome. And this was the 86th show of the Belizean Affairs for Friday, the 5th
Okay.
of January, 2024. We invite you to check in with us again. I'm talking to the general public now. We invite the
Right.
general public to check in with us again on Monday when we do our next broadcast at the same time with a different chairman. And on Wednesday, same time with another different chairman. And we don't know what the new issues are going to be, but we're sure going to tackle them when our program comes on. Thank you very much and good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. God bless.
Thanks once again. Thanks to our viewers for taking the time out to listen to us, right? And if you're interested, if any one of you out there are interested in coming together, kindly reach out to us. You'll have the BRC group, that is trying to get off the ground, right? And the more voices we have, the better it is for us. So the general public, reach out to us, right? I encourage you guys. I mean, I think that the people in the diaspora are doing a very good job in trying to assist us, and we the people are very grateful for that, right? And
Good night. Thank
while
you. Oh,
I mean
sorry.
we can't expect that they will take the mantle all alone, right? We have to do our part as persons directly affected by the current issue. Thanks once again, Mr. Brackett.
You're
It
welcome.
was a pleasure for me to be on your show. I look forward sometime in the near future to join you once more again.
Uh,
Thanks.
we'll turn off the show now, but if you want to talk for
Sure,
another couple of minutes after the show is closed, you're welcome to stay in the background.
sure, no problem.